So, what really jumped out at me today was verse 5, where the gift of grace and apostleship, it says we were given the gift, it was given grace and apostleship, so that to create obedience in the faith. I just thought, that's crazy to me. So we received a gift. Okay, imagine this. So it's like, what came to my mind was like when I was younger, and my mom would be like, here's $20, go up to Allsup's, because I'm from a small town. That's all we had. We didn't have a grocery store. Go to Allsup's, get milk and bread, and a drink for yourself, and come home, right? And so she gave me something so that I could go do something that brought home, and we had some groceries, right? Like it had a purpose. And so that money was to buy groceries. Grace and apostleship was not just given me like, oh, I have grace, I'm so grateful, which we are. But we're given it for a purpose. I was like, that's awesome. Yes, it's not just, our world is all about, yes, grace, 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 which is amazing. It really is. But it has a purpose. It's not to just have, it's to go do something with it. Right? It's to bring about obedience. Well, if my mom tells me to do it and I just take the $20, I'm so happy to have $20. Yes. And I never do anything with it. What's the purpose of that silly piece of paper? It's just there, right? And it's good, but it's not doing what it was created to do. It was created to go do something with it that produced a result. It produced fruit, groceries. Anyway, so that stood out at me. I was like, wow, that's really, really cool. And then go to chapter 1. We're in chapter 1. Go to verse 8. And he's saying that your faith is being reported throughout all the world, right? Well, if someone just says, I believe, okay, great. Well, is that like newsworthy stuff? No, if someone just says it, yeah, I believe. They're just saying it, right? That's not something to make a reporter go, oh, that's good stuff, and go like tell everybody. But if they do something, they go and they serve somebody and they meet a physical need, and that gives them the right to speak into their life spiritually. And it produces people who are like, man, that's good stuff. Man, these guys really, really are walking in love, and we like these guys, and they're doing things, and they're feeding the hungry, or they're whatever the things that our world does like to report on. Okay, they get reported because it's a big deal, right? So when Paul is saying that your faith is being reported, so these people who were believers weren't just like, oh, I believe. They were doing something that made people actually talk about it. That was cool to me. So then I also, on a side note, in verse 16, where it says that still, like this is 20 plus years after the resurrection, guys. And it still says to the Jew first and also the Greek. That's not for right now. That really didn't jump out at me that much. And so I'm sure it's a big subject. It really, really is. But I just kind of noticed it still today. That was just me. And then, oh man, okay. Here's what really the other thing today for me was verse 17. And it was, the faith to faith, the just shall live by faith, right? And so I think it jumped out at me because verse 5 and 8 jumped out at me so much, right? And so for the first time, when I was younger, I knew that verse, and I'd be like, from faith to faith, the just shall live by faith. We walk by faith and not sight, right? But they were just more words. They weren't like the daily actions. But now that I've been living out my faith for years now, I look back, hindsight's 20/20, and I look at the journey. I look at how it was like, my faith was down here, and I needed a little bit of faith to get going, and here's something, and then God got me through it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then there was something else. So think like a little puddle jump up here, right? And then there's something else, and it was kind of like that hurdle, like something that just made me want to sit down and go, I guess this is just going to be in my life forever. I don't know how to handle this. And then I asked for God's wisdom, and things happened and got around it. Wow. And that built my faith a little more from faith to faith. And then go. And then something else, like the really hard thing, like really, really hard thing was a little bit easier because I had seen God do this, and I had seen God do that, and other things before that. Does that make sense? So from faith to faith, I don't have to have the faith right now. Like if you're just getting started, you don't have to have the faith to move mountains just yet, because It takes practice. It takes seeing God move in your life, and that gives you boldness, right? Now, we can ask for those things, and He'll give it. But I'm just saying, in most practical, real-life situations, it's from faith to faith. It builds on each other. This really, really hard thing wasn't as hard because I had lived through God doing things in all these little faiths. So from faith to faith, right? Okay, so that really spoke to me. But I also realized that it can go the other way. So through the rest of the chapters, kind of some heavy stuff. And this video is not long enough to cover it. I'm curious your thoughts. I really am. I have thoughts. But today, those walking out our faith things are what jumped out at me. And I'm willing to get into some really deep conversation with someone who wants to know all about 19 through the end of the chapter. And because the picture, after seeing the faith to faith, it felt like what comes next is going backwards. Okay? A lot of people like to quote some of these scriptures. But I'm telling you, the pattern is Him saying from faith to faith, the just shall live by faith. Everybody, because God created the world, right? We can't look outside and say there's not a creator. If you see a Coke can in front of you, right? Did that paint and aluminum and all that stuff just bring itself together? No, there was a creator. So just by looking at the creation, you know there was a creator, right? That's what the earth is. That's what He's saying. The earth is evidence. Nobody has an excuse. But there are people who know. They know God, right? From faith to faith, they just so they know Him. He has worked in their life. He has done things. They know Him. And then instead of that hard thing, or even whatever faith level, whatever puddle jump they were on, decided, no, I'm going to be mad at God. No, this is crap. I'm going to be mad at God. And it's almost like kind of taking a step back. Okay, not down, more away. God's here. I'm going to be mad at Him. You didn't get me through that, God. I don't understand, God. Right? Whatever thoughts come in, all the doubts, all of this, all of that, the world's happy to tell us. I believe that. I'm going to exchange God. Read the chapter, by the way. I'm going to exchange God, and I'm going to worship the trees instead of you. Now, you created the trees, but those trees are prettier, and I can see them. I can't see you, God. Man, all these people that I know, they're smart people. They got it down, and they're saying there is no God. I think I believe them. Yeah. You know what they also do? They say that they get pleasure, not from God, but themselves and each other in ways that God would say that would be hurtful to me, but since He's not even here. See this threshold? That's at the point where God says, all right, I'm not going to force myself on you. I'm a gentleman. I'm here. He didn't leave. Their minds left. They got further and further away. That's what that's doing, okay? Camp was nice, and now we're back home and there's real life. So what? Let's keep this conversation going, all right? I don't have all the answers, and you don't have all the answers, but maybe we can talk about it. I love you, and I hope you know that you've got friends in Messiah, Texas.